The opinions expressed by the host and guests in this show are not necessarily the views of Children's Health Defense.
Good morning, America. Good morning, world. Good morning, CHD. Welcome once again. My name is Michael Kane. I am the Director of Advocacy here at Children's Health Defense. Today, we are going to have Dr. Joel Wallskog on talking about treating COVID vaccine injury and what the political landscape looks like for the COVID vaccine injured. I'm also going to be talking about the Arizona Medical Freedom Bill with Ursula Conway. She played a major role in helping that bill to pass the House in Arizona. Ursula is the president emeritus for CHD Arizona, and passing a full body of the legislature is the furthest a medical freedom bill has gone since the Idaho Medical Freedom Act that Leslie Mnuchin got passed into law last year. So it's exciting news. After that, wireless spring cleaning with Miriam Eckenfels and Stephanie Lucretio. So don't go anywhere. Stick around. This is going to be an amazing hour. But first, as always, let's go through some news headlines. Breaking from Elizabeth Kucinich, the Farm Bill is worse than you thought. States' rights under siege, federal preemption, corporate liability shields, and the fiscal risks embedded in the 2026 Farm Bill. Now, you might know that CHD has put out an action alert specifically about the liability shield. Here is that action. It will be linked in the show notes. If you have not completed it, please complete it ASAP and promote it, because Congress is going to be doing the markup of the Farm Bill starting today, I believe, at 5 p.m. Eastern time. I think that's what I saw. It starts. Usually the markups last 3 days. There's a lot to go through. This action focused specifically on get rid of the liability shield. But if you read Elizabeth Kucinich's Substack, you're going to see there's so much more that is horrible about this bill. There is so much that is happening. I even had some people from the EMR community reach out to me, speaking specifically about problems around different smart technologies that were in the Farm Bill too. It's a monster. So I'm going to be meeting with my team today, see if we might be able to get out another action alert about this tomorrow, but at least complete the liability shield side of this. We need to see that go. The other aspects of it, read Elizabeth's amazing Substack to understand all the issues, and call your congressperson and tell them the Farm Bill is a beast. It's a monster. We need to get this under control. COVID Justice Resolution was just launched. Remember what happened? Ensure it never happens again. Go to covidjustice.org and sign this important resolution repudiating the government's horrible response to COVID. We have over 22,000 signatures on this, and we need your signature on it. Recently, Elon Musk publicly showed his support for the COVID Justice Resolution. Elon Musk simply replied to the COVID Justice Resolution on X, I agree. Thank you so much, Elon. That got over 70,000 views itself. I hope Elon Musk can repost the COVID Justice Resolution in its entirety. Defender covered the COVID Justice Resolution. We have multiple groups who were involved in this. They interviewed many people from it. Children's Health Defense is taking a lead in this campaign. So is Brownstone, stands for Health Freedom and Defense Fund, Autism Action Network. And recently, IMA has joined. Also, we have almost 24 groups that have signed on in support, including Vaccine Safety Research Foundation, the Global Wellness Forum, Teachers for Choice, Bravest for Choice, Feds for Freedom, so many, React 19, and so many other groups have signed on in support of this. It needs your support. We need to keep pushing this out there, covidjustice.org. Recently, Defender broke an amazing, important story about a letter being sent on OSHA exclusive. CHD calls for federal criminal investigation of OSHA over COVID vaccine injury reporting. OSHA has admitted that, yes, they had encouraged employers to not report vaccine injuries that they were aware of. that is illegal. So Children's Health Defense has written a letter over to the Department of Justice, CCing Robert F. Kennedy Jr., as well as Senator Ron Johnson, saying an investigation is warranted. This is why the COVID justice resolution is so important. This is just one horrifying thread from the insane response from the government. And there has been no reckoning. So it's so important that we deal with this. Another really important piece of news, ACIP has their meeting coming up, and it is going to focus on COVID vaccine injuries, taking center stage at the upcoming meeting. This is extremely exciting because, and so needed, so important. We saw the last ACIP meeting at the end of February canceled. The meeting was canceled. We did not know what was going to happen. Thankfully, it has been rescheduled, and they are leaning into the important stuff. COVID vaccine injury. We've seen medical freedom influencers for months and months talking about what's going on with the shots. The shots need to be pulled from the market. Why is not anything going on with this? I saw Robert Malone post on X the other day. A lot of behind the scenes went into making this day happen. And listen, people, that's how it goes. You don't walk into DC and just say, okay, check, getting rid of the COVID shot, getting rid of the liability shields. It's just not how it goes. So shout out to everybody who worked behind the scenes to make this happen. And with that, I actually think that's a perfect segue to bring in our first guest with React 19, Dr. Joel Wallskog. Joel, thank you so much for joining us this morning on CHD TV. How are you doing today?
I'm great, and thank you, Michael, for having me, and thank you for Children's Health Defense for all that they do. They have been a strategic partner for us since our inception, but they've been way more than that. They've been truly mentors for us through this entire experience that, we got thrown into and certainly weren't expecting in 2020 and 2021.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for that. Joel, you and I first met in Albany a few years back. We were just talking about that. You brought some wonderful young ladies who were vaccine injured who spoke at that rally. And you reminded me at the end, we went into the building up to the security line and just screamed and shouted because they wouldn't let us in because we were unvaccinated or we didn't have cards or whatever it was. And that back then they actually would not let us into the building to talk to our elected officials. Man, that's actually feels so long ago, but actually it wasn't that long ago at all.
Yeah, I remember that day vividly, as we've discussed.
Yeah, we're going back up March 24th here in New York, and we're focusing in on vaccine injuries. So everybody in the New York Northeast area, mark your calendar, March 21st. We're going to be continuing to promote that. Joel, just most of our audience knows who you are and knows the organization, but please, for those who don't, just let them know who you are, what React 19 is.
So I am co-chair of React 19. My other co-chair is Brianne Dressen. React 19 is a science-based, a 501c3, non-political advocacy organization that serves those Americans that were injured by the COVID shots. So, we have three main pillars of our organization historically, which are to give those Americans injured by the COVID shots physical, financial, and emotional support. But this year, we've really branched out quite a bit in our strategic goals in 2026. We're focusing a lot of time and effort on two things. One is compensation reform. As many of your listeners know, I mean, the VICP, the Vaccine Injury Compensation Program, is outdated, hasn't been updated for inflation since 1986, and certainly needs a lot of work. However, for those of us that were injured by countermeasures, such as the COVID shots, the CICP, or the Countermeasures Injury Compensation Program, is 100 times worse. Again, the last I look at the data, the program has awarded about 42 awards. If you take out two outliers, the average award is about $4,200. So it's really a dismal failure. So one of the focuses we have in 2026 is really trying to push compensation reform. And we've been honestly behind the scenes working on this now for a couple of years. The other thing we're dead set to do is, I call it the two C's. One is the compensation reform, and the second is care. The people that are injured by the COVID shots, and I'm sure, the people that are injured by all vaccines, are not getting on average what I call is competent care. So we are dead set, we in trying to improve the care of these people here in the United States. We did hire last year Mobeen Syed. I'm sure a lot of your listeners and viewers may know Mobeen Syed, who's also called Dr. Bean. He's been leading a medical group that we've had working since April, I think, of last year to develop protocols, specific protocols for different syndromes that we experience. Now, we have them starting with the neuro protocol because most of us know that the neuro and autoimmune syndromes that we experience are by far the most common. About 70+% of us have some component of a neurologic and autoimmune syndrome. So that protocol is a science-based protocol that not only tries to define our syndrome, the neural and autoimmune syndromes, but also makes literature-referenced recommended diagnostics and treatments. And we hope that this first protocol will be really released to the world, and we hope used worldwide, should be released within the next month.
So that's fantastic. One of the things that I just saw in the past couple of days, breaking, I think, out of your React 19 social media, is a provider map. You have put this map out now across America showing where can those who were injured by the COVID shot seek to get medical professionals who will even deal with this. And if you see on this map where there are yellow dots, there are numbers on there, and there's more as you move in. They break up into green dots, which have 2 providers, 3. The blue dots are a single provider. This is truly a invaluable resource for people who have been injured by the COVID shot. One question I would have is this specific to COVID vaccine injury? Does it deal with other vaccines as well too, for this specific provider map?
For this specific provider map, we developed this for COVID vaccine injuries. However, certainly logic would tell you, I think, Michael, that again, if these providers are willing to see COVID-19 vaccine injuries, I'm fairly confident these people are open-minded enough and knowledgeable enough to provide care for all vaccine injuries. We need a lot, the provider map is great. It's easy to use, but we really need help. If a lot of your viewers and listeners know providers out there that are aware of these syndromes and are aware of available diagnostics and treatments, we really want to develop this provider directory. Every provider to get in this directory has to be vetted. We're very careful, as I'm sure you are, of your membership. We've already been gaslit. We don't want to refer them to people that are just going to gaslight them further. So to get on their list, they're actually vetted through our organization by our medical team. But it's not certainly an adversarial vetting. It's just to make sure that the person that wants to be on that list, is aware of our syndromes as much as possible and is aware of available diagnostics and treatments. So please, if there's anyone out there that has a great provider, okay, that they think would be great for our provider directory, refer them to our website. There's a simple way they can just submit a form to be considered to be added to our provider network.
That is so fantastic and so important. You were talking also very importantly about the advocacy work that you're doing, that React 19 is involved in, and about injury and how these injuries get recognized. How do they get compensated? One thing you were just educating me about was about ICD-10 codes and how it is critical that there needs to be an ICD-10 code specifically related to COVID vaccine injury. First, tell us, what is an ICD-10 code and why is this so important to you and your population right now?
So an ICD-10 code ICD stands for International Classification of Diseases. So when you go in to see a medical provider, okay, to close that encounter, they have to enter a diagnosis for what you were seeing, okay? At this point, okay, people are using a plethora of different codes when a COVID vaccine injured person presents to their provider. That's a problem, okay? because a code gets a diagnosis, which leads more likely to that person getting acknowledged for their injury. But the importance of codes goes way beyond just acknowledgement. Okay. So a code, okay, goes into billing and reimbursement. So if you don't have the right code, if you don't specify to an insurance company a specific code, your claim is less likely to be reimbursed. The other thing is epidemiological study. Okay. So right now, how do we go into all the electronic medical record systems across the country and study COVID vaccine injuries when a plethora of codes is now being used? Well, it's difficult. I call it deficient by design. If you don't want people to know all the injuries, have 10 codes, spread them through an electronic medical record so they're almost impossible to identify and study. So that being said, all your listeners should know that, and viewers, that there was a long COVID code put into place in the US system in 2021. In November of 2022, I submitted a request. November of 2022, I submitted to
There is
this. I'm sorry. In November 2022, I submitted um, uh, a request for a COVID-19 vaccine injury specific code and got no response. Okay, but as of last year, we now submitted a request for a COVID vaccine injury specific adverse event code be added to the list here in the United States, and we will be heard and presented at the CDC/National Center for Health Statistics meeting on March 18th. And I'm very excited to announce that you never say for sure, but I'm confident this code is it's called T50.B25, and it is specific to COVID vaccine injury. Now, the other thing that we're going to have is what's called a seventh character designation, which is we have one code, but through the code, you can identify whether it's a visit for an acute condition, a subsequent visit, just a routine follow-up, or a sequela, which means you have a chronic condition. So all of these things are very important, and we're very excited that we're going to be able to submit this and present this at the upcoming meeting in the morning of March 18th. In the next this next month, there's a lot of stuff going on. I should note too, Michael, that there's the March 24th is the National Adverse Event Drug Awareness Day. That's sponsored by ASJ, which is American Society, or ASP, which is American Society for Pharmacovigilance. And the other great thing we have on the March 18th at the CDC is the ACIP meeting. So I am extremely proud of our ACIP committee members, and particularly I want to tip my hat to Retzef Levy for being persistent to get this meeting on the books again. The last ACIP meeting was canceled, and they have committed to discussing COVID-19 vaccine injuries on the whole day on March 18th. So our React 19 community is certainly very appreciative of the ACIP committee. And as you probably saw, there just recently 2 more ACIP people that were added as committee members. And I want to give a shout out too to Angie Farella, who some of you may know, who's a pediatrician down in Texas. She was also recently added as of yesterday to the ACIP committee. So I applaud what they do. They are an advisory committee, and as an advisory committee, they make recommendations. I'm extremely interested to see what they recommend. But then on to the next challenge, Michael, is if they do make recommendations, how do we get them implemented? But more to come. And I think we could have a whole nother conversation after we're able to see their recommendations.
So some amazing information. Things aren't perfect now, but Joel, the problems we have in 2026 are so much better than our 2021 problems, right? I mean, like when we just look at the seismic shift and change that has happened here, sometimes I have to pinch myself and remind myself, is it real? No, it's not perfect, right? I mean, we have many in our community screaming, this is going too slow. Like, and I get that, I get that frustration, but maybe you could just talk to what is the real reality of moving the needle, right? What is it that we can expect and can't expect? And what do you think that the expectations of our community should be as we're here? We're 1 year into the Trump administration, 1 year into Robert F. Kennedy sitting on top of these federal health agencies, and we have a real grassroots movement here and tons of different opinions that are all over the place. But why don't you speak to that a little bit about what our expectations should realistically be?
Yeah, this is a great question, Michael. And again, I understand a lot of people in our communities are frustrated and frankly even angry. Um, I totally get it. However, becoming a keyboard warrior will not solve our problems. Okay. So that's the truth. So we need people to get out there, to help get the work done. And there is a lot of work. The other thing is, we need dollars, and just like Children's Health Defense needs dollars to run this show, we do too, to do what we do. So, we certainly need help with regards to positive contributions. We certainly need monetary donations, just like Health Defense does. And but the progress has been slow, but it's definitely in this last year. And I want to thank RFK Jr. for his continued commitment. I know sometimes people want things to go quicker. It's not part of reality in DC. If any of you, and I'm sure a lot of people on this call have been to DC, it doesn't work like that. And I wish it did. But we can pick up the phone now. Brianne and I had a very nice conversation with Jay Bhattacharya a couple of weeks ago, just us three, and honestly, and we said, Jay, we need a quaternary care clinic. We need somewhere where the sickest of the sickest that are vaccine injured go. And he said, already working on it. So there's things that are happening. I think that, as you know, Michael, I mean, I couldn't pick up a phone and call and get an email from a politician's aide 3 or 4 years ago, let alone talk to a politician or talk to someone in a federal agency. That has all changed.
Right.
But it's tough. And again, there's going to be a subset of our people in our sphere that aren't happy with the lack of progress, but unfortunately it's part of reality. And I would encourage them to take a lot of their negative energy and try to put it into something positive.
I think that's great advice. Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, I think most people know, heads the NIH currently and was also just made interim director of the CDC. Dr. Jay Bhattacharya wrote a scientific affidavit for multiple court cases of those fired for not getting the COVID shot back when it was unpopular, back when Stanford was attacking him, back when he almost lost his job. And look now, he is now sitting on top of the NIH and the CDC working with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Dr. Walskog, thank you so much for your time and for coming on here. I am sure we're going to be checking in with you again after March 18th and the 24th and all these amazing things. I'd love for you to come back on so you could give us an update as to what happened.
Yeah, thank you, Mika. I'm super excited to come back and talk about, what the recommendations are and move forward. I think that would be amazing to be able to talk to your viewers about that. But thank you so much for having me, and thank you for Children's Health Defense.
Excellent. Dr. Joel Walskog, co-chair of React 19. Everybody make sure you're visiting react19.org and supporting the important work that they're doing. They're an amazing organization. Thank you so much, Doctor.
Thank you.
Don't go anywhere. We got a lot more stuff coming on. And what I want to start with right now is Defender just broke a story on this in Arizona. We had the Medical Freedom Act pass through the House, pass through a full legislative body. The Medical Freedom Act right now has a coalition of some 15, 16 groups that are working to get this passed across the country. And one of CHD's activists and a woman who does a lot of work all across medical freedom, especially in the state of Arizona, is Ursula. She played a big role here. Let's bring Ursula Conway onto the show. How are you doing this morning, Ursula?
Very good. Thanks for having me, Michael.
So when this broke, this got me very excited. And there was a lot of people in our movement that were like, yeah, but it just passed the House. And I was like, just passed the House? What are you talking about, just passed the House? I've said this before on calls to people over the past couple of days. Big pharma shills across the country got scared out of their minds when they saw this bill pass the House. This coalition of the Medical Freedom Act coalition has been together a couple of months. I mean, it's like just started. Leslie Manookian passed the Medical Freedom Act in Idaho, for those who don't know, that basically bans almost all medical mandates in the state of Idaho, very, very close to all of them. And now this coalition forms and people are trying to get committee hearings and all of these stuff. But in Arizona, it actually made it into a critical end zone. I'm not sure what my question is to start. Ursula, just you start wherever you want with this. Let us know a little bit how this went down.
Well, it's really quite exciting. We were invited to have a seat at the table during stakeholder meetings before the legislative session started. And our representatives wanted to know what we felt was important from a health freedom perspective. And so rather than reinvent the wheel, we decided that imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. And we simply picked up the Idaho bill, reviewed it, and recast it for Arizona. Now, did I expect that it was going to move so quickly through the House? No, but what a terrific surprise that's been. And I do want to circle back a little bit, because when I say we were invited to have a seat at the table, it is really important to understand who we are. It wasn't just the Arizona chapter of Children's Health Defense. We have this grassroots coalition that is growing and developing momentum in Arizona. And it is really fun because it has its roots in those of us who supported RFK Jr.'s run for president. And a lot of people may recall that when he suspended his campaign, that came to you live from Phoenix, Arizona. So we feel a very personal investment in what Secretary Kennedy is doing because we've supported him so strongly. So we had this core group of RFK Jr. supporters. We had people from CHD. We have people from educational excellence groups. All of these people came together and have maintained a connection, oddly enough, through a Signal chat group. And we're able to stay connected, to mobilize people, to get out to the hearings. And that's instrumental. Dr. Walskog just said, we can't do everything as keyboard warriors, and nothing could be further. I mean, that could not be more true, because we have to have people show up at committee hearings. We have to have people who are willing to speak when the bills are being heard in committee. So we just rallied this kind of ragtag group of folks that has no hierarchical structure, but we have a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of commitment, and we're very focused on our kids here in Arizona.
So Ursula, you bring up something that's is such an important point here. When Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was running for president, I actually had left CHD and I did some work for that effort. You talk about Arizona doing that effort. And while you were doing that effort, a few years back, a Signal chat developed. A chat developed amongst these people that were working for the goal at that time. This non-CHD effort was working to get Bobby Kennedy to become president. But that Signal group stayed. And as this stuff happened, I actually think you were on a closed CHD call, which we have with our chapters and stuff. And I brought up the Medical Freedom Act, and you were like, Mike, like, hey, what is it? Just connected you to a couple of people, you connected. And the reason why I say this, we don't talk about behind the scenes all the time. The work that we do, it's not wasted, right? Like some people, if they're like, oh, Bobby Kennedy didn't become president, what a waste. No, it's not such a waste. There were networks and connections and grassroots building that happened that today, because of that, has resonated in the state house in Arizona, that your bill, as I've said, I keep saying, is scaring big pharma shills in Arizona and across the nation. I just find that to be, it's remarkable, and it's people need to know this. You need to know you might not always get the payoff in the moment of the work that you've done. Years later, sometimes is when these things finally mature and finally become ripe, and you finally see some fruit from what you've done. And the last thing I just want to say on this is that it could take 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 years for one of these bills to pass, but it's worth it. This is so important. We're talking about changing the entire fabric of how our society deals with medical mandates and deals with the concept of my body, my choice. So I just find the whole thing remarkable. I'm so proud of you and the work that you're doing. I'm so glad we get to highlight it here today. Yeah.
Well, thanks so much, Michael. And I do want to point out, I neglected to mention a couple of other groups. You alluded to the Stand for Health Freedom, which has taken the Idaho bill and really packaged it so other states can pick up. Well, we had already submitted our bill, so we weren't using that specifically. But what we did was engage with them, and they have a huge mailing list. They helped rally their troops. So this wasn't just the signal group that has remained active and will continue to remain active throughout the state. We have Stand for Health Freedom rallying their whole base of nearly 20,000 people in Arizona. And we've also connected with Maija Institute. So every piece of work we do may not bear fruit in the moment, but as you say, we are laying the groundwork. And there is so much interest in the overall health of our citizens. And, we have a soft spot for our children. And I saw a minute ago that you put up a continuing resolution. In addition to the Medical Freedom Act, which has passed the House, we also have a continuing resolution which would actually change the Constitution in the state of Arizona to prohibit mandates. So there is a wide group of legislators who are focused on our health, and they have formed a Maija caucus within our legislature. I believe that's the first Maija caucus in the United States. So we're just so proud of our legislators who are willing to step up and say what needs to be said.
This is so important, and I love everything that you said. I've said repeatedly, 2026 in the medical freedom movement is the years of coalition. It is going to be the coalitions that have the biggest success. The Medical Freedom Act Coalition, led by Stand for Health Freedom and Health Freedom Defense Fund. The COVID Justice Coalition, which has a number of groups. CHD is taking leadership there. And then we have Brownstone, Stands for Health Freedom Defense Fund. IMA just joined. The End the Vaccine Carve-Out Coalition has over 40 groups supporting it on that. So I think we're going to continue to see that. Where you're going to see the ball move and the needle move the most is where groups get together, grab the oars on the boat, and they start rowing together to achieve a common goal. And I think you just laid out beautifully how that was just done in Arizona. But more to come. You guys still have more work to do, but it's worth celebrating this victory. It's an important
one. We do have a lot of work. The Health Freedom Act has moved to the Senate, and so we'll be doing a similar push to make sure that it is supported there. And that's just one bill. We have a dozen bills that are related to health freedom that are active. There are another 20 bills that have not been proceeding quickly, and so we need to see which of those. I'm very excited that a bill to ban PFAS in firefighter foam has just been advanced in the House. So there's a lot going on in Arizona, a huge focus on the health of our citizens, and we're here to help them.
Fantastic. Ursula Conway, thank you so much for the great work that you're doing. Let's stay in touch about that Senate action. We'll be all over it over here as well, too. Fantastic work. We'll have you back again soon, I hope.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Michael.
Thanks so much. Okay, it's good to celebrate a win when they happen. No, the Medical Freedom Act is not law in Arizona, not yet, but passing a house, anybody that does this work, that is not easy. It is not easy to get all the pieces together to get a piece of legislation to fully pass one of the houses of the legislature. Don't go anywhere because this show is nowhere near done. We have some amazing updates about our EMR program and the spring initiatives that they are putting forward now. And I turn it over to Miriam Eckenfels.
Well, good morning, CHD, and welcome to another EMR and wireless segment. My name is Miriam Eckenfels, and I am the director of CHD's EMR and wireless program. So, electromagnetic radiation is an invisible toxin, and it's everywhere. It's in your home right now, surrounding your family as you go about your daily lives, even as you sleep. Much of the EMR exposure in your home is linked to things you can control, technology you use, devices you rely on, things that you might not know emit unsafe levels of RF radiation. This is different from the involuntary exposure from wireless infrastructure such as cell towers that could be close to homes, for example. And we will be talking about this a lot in the weeks and months to come. But today, we are going to talk about the things that we do have some control over. So this March, the 704 No More initiative is inviting families across the country to do something simple but powerful, to explore the technology around us, to look at the different sources of RF radiation and to see if we can do something to reduce that exposure, and to start right at home. It is time to spring clean your wireless world. Spring Clean Your Wireless World is a radiation detox challenge for your environment. The radiation you and your family live in every day, and as we know well, that is not harmless. Spring Clean Your Wireless World is about learning how to spot RF exposures at home and about simple ideas to reduce the exposure where you can. Plus, fun tips to create safer spaces for the people you love most. And to talk about this campaign, I'm thrilled to welcome CHD's Senior Advocacy Manager, Stephanie Locreccio. Welcome, Stephanie.
Hello, Miriam. Happy to be here.
Thank you for joining us. So let's first talk about why we have decided to launch the Spring Clean Your Wireless World campaign.
Well, I think for a lot of people, I know for myself, I've been with CHD for almost 5 years now, and I came in, as many people do, through the medical freedom movement, just very much involved with all the things that are going on with our vaccines. And I had no idea that I'm doing all these things with my body, making sure I'm not injecting myself, watching what I'm eating, and I'm living in toxic soup in my own personal environment because this invisible toxin is everywhere. So the goal of this campaign is to bridge that gap, to bring people into our wireless world, to really understand what's happening in your environment, and to start with really small steps, things that are tangible, because it can be overwhelming when you enter this world and you realize that there's a lot that we cannot control. But what we can control is where we live, what we do, what kind of exposure our family has, and what we can bring into the space as far as educating people, bringing awareness, and making small changes that really do have a huge impact.
Right. And maybe this is also a great moment to remind our viewers that RF radiation from wireless sources has considerable health effects, ranging from mild symptoms such as, a difficulty sleeping or dizziness, tinnitus, oxidative stress, to very severe consequences that can accumulate over time from chronic RF exposure, such as DNA damage, cancers, and most recently, it has also been linked to type 2 diabetes, particularly in children. So this stuff that surrounds us, even though we can't see it, we can't smell it, it's there and it has an impact.
And I was experiencing that. So I'm sitting right now at a desk that I sit at for 5 years, like 8 hours a day. And I was getting all kinds of issues on my left side, ringing in my ear, shoulder pain, sometimes, fluctuating breast pain, down to my hip, into my foot. And when I started exploring my wireless world, I got a Safe and Sound Pro meter sent to my house, and I measured my office radiation levels, and they were through the roof. So even though I had hardwired my computer and I lost all of the wireless devices that were here, because a lot of people look around you right now, you're using a wireless mouse, you're using a wireless keyboard, you're using a wireless printer. All of these things have antennas that are emitting radiation. The Wi-Fi antenna, even if your Wi-Fi is off, is still emitting radiation. So when I made some small changes, took the router out of my office, continued with the hardwiring, got rid of all of my wireless devices, I am not having, and of course, we can't say with 100% certainty, but, in my opinion, there's definitely some relation there. So it's small changes and really looking at these things that you would never expect. Parents, we went to the Prego Expo 2 years ago. The amount of wireless toys, wireless devices that they are creating for children is insane. And some of it is really convenient, I'm sure. I mean, my son is 18, so I don't know all the things, but I can tell you the stuff that I saw at this expo, Miriam and I were there, and it was disturbing to see how many wireless devices they are promoting for children. And children are even more susceptible than adults because their skulls are still forming, their brains are still forming. So they really do need to be careful around wireless devices. And, you see it, Miriam, we go out to restaurants and these kids are just with the phones against their ear on their laps, in their pockets, swiping. It's something we really have to be careful with. And of course, devices, phones, iPads, it's all part of modern technology, modern society,
Right.
But we need to mediate where we can.
Right, absolutely. And that's what Sprinkling Your Wireless World is here for. So the campaign has two components. One is to challenge people to explore their wireless world. And then the second one is to take steps to remedy the wireless exposure. So let's talk about exploring the wireless world first. So we have a checklist. We see some of it on screen. And we want people to go beyond just, turn on, your smartphone or your tablet, sort of like the obvious culprits. So Stephanie, talk us through a little bit like what we want people to look out for.
Yeah. So all these smart devices, people have smart devices for their heating, for their bells, for their outside cameras. All of these things emit radiation. Your vehicles emit radiation, especially if you're using electric vehicles. They are hot zones. If you're parking your car out in the garage or on the other side of you, there's radiation emitting from that. When you look at your different things in your house, as far as, like I said, keyboards, mouses, any of the smart meters, smart TVs. If you have smart meters in your house, and you can tell very easily when you go outside looking at it, many states allow you to replace those smart meters with analog for an additional charge per month. And I can tell you it is well worth the charge if you have the option to opt out. I encourage everyone. It could be your electric meter, it could be your water meter, it could be your gas meter. There's several culprits there. So take a look around your house. The Safe and Sound Pro meter is something that I definitely recommend. If you can buy it, it's a little bit on the pricier side, $200, $300 for that meter, but well worth it because I bought several in the past and they're just all over the map. This one was really great.
Right.
I do also think that toys, looking at your kids' toys, seeing what you're bringing into the house. We have all types of devices with our smart TVs, our wireless Bluetooth speakers that we're connecting things to. There's so many sources in modern world, and you'd be surprised. Your microwave, your stove, your refrigerator these days can be Wi-Fi enabled. I mean, why do we need Wi-Fi enabled refrigerators? Oh, there it is. I won't get it because of those reasons. Very, very, very convenient for the vacuuming, but a wireless hot zone. And then Amazon Alexa, I don't have them in my house for many reasons, the wireless radiation being one of them. So many people say, oh, I use my phone for my alarm clock. Get a regular alarm clock. Shut your phones off at night, making sure that you have your phone on airplane mode, keeping it out of your bedroom. It's something that, oh, even your smartwatches. That's one thing I wanted to talk about. People have their smartwatches on all day long. It's attached to your body. It is emitting radiation all day long. Your AirPods, you're putting them in your ear. I see people everywhere in the gym, and I know it's very hard to work out with wired headphones. I totally get it. But when you think about the fact that you have these things in your ear, would you stick your head in the microwave? That's a question that I always ask people, and it tends to wake them up. getting wired headsets, especially the tubed ones, is the best thing that you can do. Anything else that I'm missing? There's so many.
Yeah. I mean, one thing that I think is important to reiterate is sort of like when you where you work in your office, right? So we already spoke about the router, we spoke about the computer, obviously using wireless networks, but then there's the keyboard, there's the mouse, there's wireless printers, right? That most people forget that they don't need to be plugged in unless you're actually using them. And then, the entertainment system, that was a big one for me. I only realized that my Apple TV that is hardwired still radiates because it doesn't turn off the wireless even if you hardwire it. And it emitted about twice the level of RF radiation than my wireless router. So these devices, whether it's a smart TV or whether it's, your wireless speakers, whether it's gaming consoles, like all of those things emit radiation. And I think people need to prioritize, right? Not everything is going to emit at the same level, and not everything can be remedied. But it is really about look around you and see, okay, where are my possible exposure sources and which ones can I turn off when they're not in use, and which ones can I remedy, and maybe which ones do I not even need, right? Another thing that you mentioned, and that I think people just need to be aware of, everything you use from your Ring doorbell camera to your wireless garage opener to all of the smart thermostats, like all of these things use wireless radiation to function. And so it just creates sort of like this ambient exposure that is constant, and oftentimes that is 24/7. So now let's talk about what people can actually do, because the second checklist that we prepared for participants of the challenge is a detox checklist. Maybe we'll go through it a little more systematically, and we start with the internet and networking portion, which is a very important one because our wireless routers are a massive source of wireless exposure. I mean, you can oftentimes get your neighbor's Wi-Fi signals from 2 houses down, right? So let's talk about what can people do, and maybe we can get the detox checklist up on the screen. What can people do to reduce the internet and networking components of their exposure?
You can do is making sure, if you're not using your Wi-Fi, which I highly recommend hardwiring all your devices if possible. We've been doing it. We have pretty much everything hardwired in my house, and it does make a huge difference. But making sure, if you do have your Wi-Fi on, every provider has some sort of a mechanism on your phone through the app where you can shut off the Wi-Fi. I do it every single day and night. Sometimes when my son comes home, he'll turn it on and make sure I shut it off at night. That is a huge difference. You will notice that you sleep better. I can tell if the Wi-Fi is left on because I do not have a restful night's sleep if that Wi-Fi is on at night. The other thing you can do is, if you can't keep your phone out of your bedroom because you need it for your alarm clock and your resistance to getting a traditional one, putting it on airplane mode, making sure that all of your antennas are shut off, keeping the phone away from your body. Distance is your friend. I see so many people in the gym stuffing their phone in their bras or in their back of their pants. Your phone was measured for safety at a distance from the body. So distance is your friend. Keep it off of your body. If you have any hotspots, any things that are in the house, Wi-Fi extenders, making sure that you're shutting them off. It's so important to keep up with your different network things and making sure that everything is shut off. And then as far as your printers, if they're wireless and they have an antenna, there is a way to hardwire your printer. You can go in, you can shut off the antennas on all of your devices, printers, getting your hardwired keyboards, your hardwired mouses. Those are super important things that you can do that are pretty easy. Right. If you have other devices in the house, if you're not using them, if you have an iPad that's on, it's in the room, it's emitting, keeping everything on airplane mode or shutting it off where you can. Powering things off is the best way to reduce the levels of radiation from devices in your house. Like Miriam said, unplugging those smart TVs.
So let's I want to get to the personal devices in a second, because those are like a different set of recommendations. But in the internet and networking component of the checklist, I just want to remind people that most wireless routers have or most routers that you get from your provider, you get it with an app, and in the app you can disable the wireless antennas. The safest way to know that your router is not emitting is to unplug it. So whenever you're done, like Stephanie suggested, at night, just unplug it. That gets the radiation to zero if there's no power. Now, turning off the antennas usually help. Some of the other recommendations on the checklist, like turning off your guest networks, that can also be done over an app. You don't need 3 different Wi-Fi networks in a house most of the time. And so the hardwiring is also important, and then you have to turn the antennas off so that your computer, even if the router is off, the wireless router is off, still has internet if you work on a hardwired computer. Now for the personal devices, since everybody's using them, right? We use our personal devices. People always forget that even if you use an iPad, you can download content, and then you can put that phone or that iPad in airplane mode and you can still use it for work. It does not have to be actively transmitting. Now, when you put something in airplane mode, it is very important that you shut the antennas off first. So you go first into your settings, you turn off the wireless, you turn off the Bluetooth, and then you put it in airplane mode. Because if you just put it in airplane mode, sometimes those antennas stay active. And if you are using an iPad, for example, for work, or your children want to watch a movie while you travel and whatnot, download that content first and then put the device in airplane mode. Same for, as Stephanie mentioned, that's a key recommendation. Distance is your friend, and limit your time, obviously. A lot of, what we are advocating for is a safer use of technology, but I think it's also about rethinking our interaction just a little bit with technology. Right, so here on the screen, we see that you first have to actually go into your settings on the iPhone. You cannot just do it with sort of like the swipe down to disable the antennas, because they will turn on and they will still be on. And then you can even use your phone as an alarm clock, because the antennas are off, it's on airplane mode. If you measure it with a safe and sound, it does not emit significant radiation, and then the alarm clock still works. So those are things that are relatively easy to achieve. So you mentioned the smart meter opt out, which I think is a very important point too for those people who have smart meters on their homes. Many states offer opt outs at a cost, not always to analog meters, but to digital meters, which present their own set of challenges. But from an RF perspective, they are much better. And then, I know that you, for example, have a landline still in your house. That's another recommendation, right? And that phone even could be corded if we would go like all the way. But forward calls from your phone to your landline when you're in the house. That's something that you do, right? And it's relatively easy.
Yeah, I have done it. It's definitely relatively easy. You can 100% do it. You have to remember to take it off when you leave the house, because I sometimes forget to do that. But when I am in the house, I absolutely use my landline when I can. And people know at night, if they need to reach me, to not even bother calling my cell phone, because it's not going to transmit. So whenever that phone rings in the middle of the night, it definitely jumps you right under it.
Right. And I think what I want to mention, and we have that in the checklist as like the nighttime routine. So as we spoke about RF radiation presenting, sort of like a constant oxidative stress on the body, we need time internally to recover from that exposure. And the more time you give your body to detox at night, the more the better it is, the healthier it is, right? The more you reduce your oxidative stress. So this nighttime low EMF routine is incredibly important. What I recommend, my strong recommendations, because again, I realize that a lot of the smart devices, including like Apple TVs or game consoles, even if they're hardwired, they still have the antennas on. So my strong recommendation is to just unplug it before you go to bed. Unplug it, and you will be fine until the morning. I would still not, have a lot of electronic devices right next to where you sleep. But if you unplug them and you are consistent about that, you're doing a great service to you and the RF exposure in your house. So, Stephanie, go ahead.
our children as well, because we have all this information. I know for teens, I see so many of them sleeping with the phones in their bed, under their pillows, charging their phones right above their heads. Have conversations with your teens and your children to give them some tips on mitigating and using their technology in a safe way. It's so important. So
Yeah.
the information that you have. And I feel like when you're starting this, it can be overwhelming. When I got that meter, I was so overwhelmed at first trying to figure out where the sources were and realizing that everything was emitting radiation. Take it one step at a time. Take it one room at a time. Prioritize the rooms where you spend a lot of time, either individually or as a family. So obviously my office, my bedrooms, my family room were the priorities, being able to mitigate the exposure in those spaces. And then move the search out to the other areas of your home, but prioritize the different devices, the different rooms, one step at a time. And everything that you do does make an impact.
Absolutely. So now, once people have explored and remedied their homes, what do we want them to do as part of this campaign, and why is it important to sort of like create that?
Well, we want people to share. We want them to share their experiences. We want them to share what they found out. I feel like when you're going through this, whatever you learn is going to be a tool for somebody else as they're going through their journey. So sharing it on social media, writing into us, 704 No More, you'll see on our social media page, we'll be sharing tips and tricks all month long. So you can tag us at 704 No More on social. Share with us whatever is happening, pictures, results, what you're noticing, what you're feeling, how the experience has been for you, what your biggest discovery or takeaway was, because whatever you're learning is going to help somebody that's just starting. I always say when you're on this journey of advocacy, no matter what you're doing, it's like climbing a ladder, one step at a time. So whenever you take another step up, you have the opportunity to reach down and share and help other people to make the same discoveries and improvements that you've made. So we cannot wait to hear your spring cleaning experience and know all about what you've done and what you're feeling as a result.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Stephanie, for coming on today and for talking to us and for launching this campaign and conceptualizing it. I think it's going to have an impact, and I think that people are actually going to enjoy the results of spring cleaning their wireless world. And if you would like to participate in the Spring Clean Your Wireless World Challenge, you can go to 704nomore.org. Under the resource tab, there is a separate category for additional resources, and I'm hoping we'll have that link in the show notes as well, where you can download those checklists and where you can share them. Also, when you go to 704 No More, add your email to the subscribe list and join the movement. Throughout this year, we will be launching monthly campaigns that walk you through the different aspects of 704 No More. Namely, we want everyone to understand how cell towers in our communities negatively affect our health and the environment we all live in. Remember, while you can control RF exposures in your home from many wireless sources, as we discussed today, living next to a cell tower is an entirely different ballgame. 24/7 exposure without anything you can do about it. So we're looking forward for you to share your experience with spring cleaning your wireless world and join the movement. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Stop 5G Near Me and at 704 No More on all major platforms. And now stay tuned for the People's Study of the Day.
All right, we're live. Tell everyone your name, please.
My name is Heidi Bond.
And we did do the story earlier of your friend, your best friend, but I want to hear it from your point of view because you are best friends. Tell us what happened from best friend's point of view.
Yes. My best friend Lupe Espinoza was admitted into Clovis Community Hospital on August 4th, 2021 and discharged into the morgue September 28th, 2021. She was discriminated against for not being vaccinated. She was given the toxic and deadly drug remdesivir. She was denied life-saving therapeutics such as ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine. her young son had to witness his mother's medical murder behind a hospital window because nobody was allowed in.
Were you texting her?
Yes.
And what kind of things were you saying together?
First text I got was she was explaining to us how once she arrived at the hospital, how the doctor screamed and yelled at her endlessly for not being vaccinated. And then they put her in a room and isolated her. And it's my personal belief they drugged her at that point, because after that, it wasn't her anymore. She didn't communicate like she normally would have.
All right, so that's just a tragic story, because you were actual bestie bests. But you did something about this, because you would tell us what happened, because you got upset and angry.
Yes. So many of our friends were, had loved ones in the hospital at the same time as Lupe, and with the complete media blackout, news stations aren't reporting it, radio stations aren't reporting it. So we thought, what on earth can we do to warn people, to warn the community what they're doing in the hospitals? We have to save lives. So we purchased a 14-foot sign that states, "Hospital COVID protocols kill. Refuse remdesivir." And we stood out in front of the hospitals, and we'll never know this side of heaven how many lives we've saved, how many lives we continue to save. Since then, we've, accumulated a lot more signs, and we're in front of 3 local hospitals.
And these are some of them here, aren't they?
Yes.
Talk us through some of this. So, I mean, they must have got
Yes.
angry with you. What happened? Would they come out and speak to you?
Well, yeah, we've been out of there, for a few years. So, at first, the hospital administration would come out and scream at us. Now
What would they say to you?
They said that you don't know what's going on in there. Are you, educated on, the scientific, mumble jumble? Then
Whose arm is that?
Okay, so this is my best friend Lupe Espinosa. This is a picture that she took with her own camera when she was inside Clovis Community Hospital.
That's her arm.
What's
happened there?
It's her arm. Well, that's the side effect from the remdesivir. And, it's just so sad, because there came a point where she knew she was going to die. She didn't want to leave her young son, and she knew she was going to die. She had anxiety over it. She would stay up. She wouldn't let herself fall asleep because she thought she was going to die. I prayed the hospital, COVID protocols, and
So you're talking there about expecting mothers, babies are being born dead.
Yes, so my friend Michelle Gershman, her mother right here, both her parents were murdered in St. Agnes Hospital, and she was tied up against her will. She was vented. They knocked her teeth out. It was absolutely horrendous, but she's also postpartum nurse at the local hospital. And when a horrific email came out exposing the skyrocketing numbers of babies being born dead, she was the one that leaked that email to the Epoch Times in order to save lives. And her bravery and has, saved people from all over the nation. But once we found that out, we knew that we had to help warn others. So we created these signs warning the mothers not to get the vaccine, because the babies are being born dead. They're born with heart problems. There was a baby the other day born without ears. Babies that are born with skulls that aren't developed. It's just absolutely horrifying what's happening in our hospitals, and Clovis Community Hospital, Fresno Community Hospital System. They put out lies like this when they know the babies are dying, because we have proof through the leaked hospital email. So we do everything we can to spread the truth and help warn people. Our media has been absolutely silent, so we hold the signs in front of the news stations. And we get treated extremely bad. Like, you think the hospitals are bad. Try going with a sign like this in front of a local station. They swarm you. They took pictures of our cars, our license plates and stuff, when we're just trying to expose the truth.
And have you been personally attacked?
Yeah, I can show you a video. My house was, they launched, okay.
Who's they?
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, there's, you know.
Dark side.
Yes. They launched missiles from down the street of my house to explode over my house. And it was so loud, local, you know, news station did a story on it. I can play you the video. Do you want me to get it?
Yeah, is it here?
Yeah, I can grab my phone and get it. Can you grab me my purse? And you can hear how loud it was, because nothing like that has ever been in a residential neighborhood before.
All because you put these signs up.
Yes, this sign in particular, here, I'll show it right here. That sign in particular.
What does it say? I can't see.
It says hospital COVID protocols kill, refuse remdesivir.
Okay. All right,
And-
let's see this blast they did over your house. Goodness. The world's gone mad.
Here, you can hear it right here.
Is there a video? Is there?
Yes, there's video too. Hold on. It plays to, because it's on Rumble, so it plays to commercials. Hold on.
There's one simple sugar hack
Hold
that
on.
anyone can use to
You put it
reset
on
their
Rumble.
blood sugar on demand.
I made
Did
a
you know that you
video
can pee
trying
out
to
blood?
warn people. So this is the very beginning of this video. It starts off with the bomb. See, my house is down the street, and you can see the explosion.
What?
Yeah, it's a delayed reaction. See, that spark was right over my house. And I created that video. And then next you'll see Dr. Peter McCullough real quick. I took a quick clip. And then after that, you can see some of our activism that we've been trying to do to save lives.
November of 2020, the World Health Organization says, stop using remdesivir. Stop it. It's bad. It doesn't work, and it's leading to more deaths. It leads to kidney injury and liver injury.
I just have to do one thing. It's better.
General call to honor that will cause real men to rise, to take a stand for the defenseless and for justice give their lives.
This is outside the hospital. You're singing like this.
The captive, the soul is reaching for the
This is the Gilly girls. Their grandma was murdered in the hospital with Lupe.
This is freedom's cry. So rise up and be brave. Take a stand in freedom's name. For the weak and the helpless. For the hurting and the lost. Let courage be your banner. And the Lord be your shield. For victory is never given to those
still giving remdesivir in the hospitals. They still have protocols to kill. They're still giving vaccinate, and everybody needs to be aware of that. Did you or your loved ones suffer any of these? Because the medical tyranny will not end until patients' rights are restored. When did we lose our right to try? When did we lose our right to refuse? Were you given true and transparent informed consent about the dangers of remdesivir? If you or your loved ones suffered under the hospital protocols for COVID, just know it's not over. We're still under their thumb. And if you have a story, you can report it here at chbmp.org.
Government data to compare outcomes after the COVID-19 vaccines
So how long
with
is this
outcomes after the
video?
influenza
Want me to
vaccine.
stop it?
And it found a
It's only 6 minutes
1,200-fold
long.
increase in
Right, we get the people could go to Rumble then. Where can they find that if they want to watch the rest of that?
Let me see. It is on the former Feds group Freedom Foundation's.
All right, so that's
Rumble.
where you find the rest of that video.
Yes.
So what else do you want to say? What do you want the people to know?
I want to let the people know that nobody's coming to rescue us. We've called police. We've called the sheriffs. We have reached out to the DA. We have reached out to our elected officials, and nobody is coming to help. So the only tool available at this point is to spread awareness. I would encourage people to stand out in front of the hospital to warn people, because they're still using it today. My friend, Dawn, she was here sharing her testimony. Her father was just admitted into Clovis Community Hospital last month and for a fall, and they restrained him and gave him remdesivir, you know.
For a fall?
For a fall, yes, and he felt better. He went in by ambulance. Someone talked him into it. He felt better, and he wanted to leave upon arrival, and they 5150'd him and strapped him down and gave him remdesivir. But luckily, you know, the family found out where he was at, advocated for him, and they were able, you know, to get him out after, you know, one round of remdesivir. But this is currently happening, and if you think that you personally or your family or your children can't be unleashed on, there's still PCR testing everybody in the hospital, and then once false positives happen all the time, and once you have a positive, they will hook you up to the only FDA approved medication used to treat COVID, and that is remdesivir, which is proven to be toxic and deadly. You could get on the NIH website. It clearly states it there. It has, you know, a 53% kill rate per the Ebola trials that were done in, you know, South Africa.
Wow. Okay, well, thank you for telling us that.
Thank you. God
for all the
bless.
work you're doing.
Thank you, and God bless, and thank you so much, you know, for Children's Self-Defense, for giving us all a voice, for bringing the darkness to light, because with the complete media blackout, we need every single pathway we can to warn others. So thank you, God bless you, and you're doing God's work.
This and all CHD TV programming is made possible by generous support from viewers like you. Please consider making a contribution today to keep our programming going strong. Thank you.